This movie will provide a demonstration of the AutoDoc feature introduced in DocumentX 2012. So the AutoDoc is a feature that allows you to author content that's used in your generated output according to rules that you define, rather than being authored against a particular item. So a good example of that would be you might want to author some content for inclusion in every method with a particular name or particular kinds of classes. So I'm going to run through a demonstration here using the .NET sample project, and I've added a new topic that describes how you should use collection classes within the assembly that I'm documenting, and I want to add a link and some descriptive content relating to that topic to every collection class within a particular assembly. So I'm going to start by just opening up the content file editor here, and I can see I've got two collection classes within the assembly, and they both have descriptions already. So I want to add some remarks and a see also link to a conceptual topic that I've created describing using collection classes in general. Now I could just come in here and type that content directly and add a see also link, but to avoid duplicating that content throughout my content file, I'm instead going to create an AutoDoc file to do that. So on the project ribbon tab here, I'm going to click new AutoDoc file, and I'm going to create the AutoDoc file for .NET Assembly documentation. So you can use AutoDoc for any of the documentation types within DocumentX. And I'm going to call this, just so I can recognize at a glance what content that this contains, collection classes. And it's added to my Project Explorer here under the AutoDoc Files section, and it's opened immediately for edit. So rather than in a content file where you see a tree of a specific assembly's content or a specific reference documentation item's content, I've got an empty tree here headed up by the top level node of model items. So the first thing I need to do before I go ahead and create any content is to create a new model item, and each model item is for a particular type of item within that documentation type. So I'm going to choose class as the item type, and just as a descriptive name for this model item, I'm going to say collection class content. Okay, so my new model item has been added to the tree here, and I can see the icon relates to the class type, and I've got an editor that looks very much like the content file editor open here, in which I can start authoring content. And so by default, this model item that I've created, any content I create in here would be applied to every class within the documentation that I produce. So I want to narrow or filter the set of items that this is going to be applied to. So I'm going to do that by defining a rule against this model item. So I'm going to add, in this case, I'm going to add an item name rule, and I'm going to match every item whose name ends with collection. Okay, so I'm going to tick the whole word and use regex, because that's a regex pattern there, the dot star, as the options to match item name. And I'm just going to type my content as I would in the content file editor. So you can use any of the regular authoring tools within here, widgets, markup, the formatting tools. So I've just added some remarks content there, and I'm also going to add a see also link, which appears at the bottom here, to using collection classes there. So in a similar way to XML source comments, when I open up the content file editor, I'll be able to see the AutoDoc content that I've created. So if I click on one of the collection classes and go down to the remarks section, you can see this section here, remarks defined in collection classes.dxa. I can see immediately that there is model content for this item. So this is invaluable whilst you're authoring, so you can see what has an automatically generated summary or remarks and what you need to actually author specifically for this class. So I can see down the bottom here the using collection classes see also link also. If I switch to preview, I can see that AutoDoc content appears in the output. Now I can override that for a specific class, so if I've got a collection that requires a particular description that doesn't match the AutoDoc one, I can just copy and paste, and the content file content will override the AutoDoc content. So that concludes this short movie demonstrating how to use the AutoDoc feature in DocumentX 2012.